Hello, my name is Ben, and I'm 29 years old. I work as a software engineer for a mid-sized tech firm in Atlanta, the kind of place where the office is all glass walls and standing desks, but most days I'm just staring at code on my laptop from home. 6 months ago, I broke up with Sarah, my girlfriend of 6 years. It wasn't dramatic, no big fight, no cheating. We just grew apart. She wanted kids and a house in the suburbs with a white picket fence, and I realized I wasn't ready for any of it. The split left me drained, like someone had pulled the plug on my energy. I needed a reset, so I moved back to the quiet neighborhood where my mom lives, just outside the city. It's one of those older suburbs with tree-lined streets, ranch-style houses, and neighbors who wave but don't pry too much. My mom's place is a cozy two-bedroom with a small backyard, and she let me crash in the spare room while I figured things out. Rent-free, which was a luxury after blowing savings on the breakup. The area is peaceful, too peaceful sometimes. Mornings are filled with the sound of lawnmowers and kids biking to school. I spend my days debugging apps remotely, taking runs along the winding roads and trying not to think about how empty my life feels. Mom means well. She cooks dinner most nights and asks about my day, but I can tell she's worried. "You need to get out more, Ben," she'd say, "and meet someone new." I wasn't looking. Honestly, I just wanted silence. That's when I first noticed Elena. She lives in the house next to Mom's, a neat, single-story brick home with a well-kept garden out front. Elena is 47, a widow who's been alone since her husband died in a car accident over a decade ago. Everyone in the neighborhood knows her story. It's the kind of small talk that floats around at block parties. She's striking, not in a flashy way, but with this quiet intensity. Dark hair usually pulled back, sharp green eyes, and a posture that says she's been through hell and come out stronger. People call her cold because she doesn't chat much at the mailbox or join the book club. But there's something magnetic about her, the way she moves with purpose, tending to her roses like they're old friends. I didn't interact with her at first, just nods from afar. She'd be out in her yard pruning bushes while I jogged by, or I'd see her lights on late through the window. Mom mentioned her once. "Elena's nice but private. Lost her husband young, keeps to herself." I filed it away and moved on. It was a Saturday afternoon in late spring when everything shifted. The sun was dipping low, casting long shadows over the cul-de-sac. I was walking back from a quick trip to the corner store for coffee filters, nothing exciting, when I spotted her car stalled on the side of the road, about a block from home. It was an older Lexus, silver, with the hood popped. Elena stood there, arms crossed, staring at the engine like it had personally offended her. She was in jeans and a simple blouse, sleeves rolled up, a few strands of hair escaping her ponytail. Frustration etched her face, but she didn't look helpless. I hesitated for a second. We weren't strangers, but we weren't friends. Still, leaving her there felt wrong. "Hey, need a hand?" I called out as I approached. She glanced up, those green eyes locking on mine. No smile, just a nod. "It's been acting up. Won't start." "I'm no mechanic, but I know a thing or two about engines," I said, peering under the hood. It smelled like hot metal and oil. I poked around, checked the battery connections, the belts. Turned out to be a fouled spark plug, nothing major. I had a basic toolkit in my trunk from an old project, so I grabbed it and got to work. 10 minutes later, the engine purred to life. Elena watched the whole time, leaning against the car. "You're handy," she said as I wiped my hands on a rag. "Comes with the territory of fixing code all day. Sometimes you just need to troubleshoot real life." I was trying to keep it light, but being this close to her made my pulse pick up. Up close, she was even more striking. Faint lines around her eyes from years of squinting into the sun. A scar on her forearm I hadn't noticed before. She closed the hood with a firm thud. "Thanks, Ben. I owe you." "No big deal." We stood there awkwardly for a beat. The air was warm, cicadas starting their evening hum. I don't know what possessed me, maybe the breakup had left me reckless with words, but I blurted out, "If you were 30, I'd probably ask you to grab a drink or something, road trip even." It was meant as a joke, a dumb flirt to break the tension. But Elena didn't laugh. She stepped closer, close enough that I could smell her faint perfume, something woody and clean. Her eyes searched mine, unblinking. "Don't make excuses about age," she said softly, her voice low and steady. "You're just afraid to admit what you really want." I froze. The words hit like a slap and a caress at the same time. My joke, thrown out carelessly, had been flipped inside out. She saw right through it, through me. The attraction I'd buried under neighborly help was suddenly naked in the open air. I, that wasn't, I stammered, heat rising to my face. She held my gaze a second longer, then turned to get in the car. Drive safe, Ben. The engine revved, and she pulled away, leaving me standing in the dust of the roadside. I walked home in a daze. Mom was in the kitchen when I got back. Everything okay? You look flushed. Fine, I muttered, heading to my room. But I wasn't fine. Elena's words echoed in my head all night. Don't make excuses, afraid to admit. She was right. I'd felt the pull from the first nod across the fence, but age, her past, my fresh wounds, it all screamed complication. Yet there I was, replaying the moment, wondering what the hell just happened. The next day, I found myself glancing at her house more often. Her car was in the driveway, lights on in the evening. Part of me wanted to laugh it off as a weird encounter. Another part, the one that kept me up staring at the ceiling, knew she had called my bluff. And I wasn't sure if I was ready to fold or double down. The days after that roadside encounter blurred into a strange routine. I'd catch myself lingering by the fence separating Mom's yard from Elena's, pretending to check the mail or water the plants that didn't need it. She'd be out there most afternoons, kneeling in the dirt with her gardening gloves, trimming roses or pulling weeds with precise, deliberate movements. She never looked up first, but I knew she felt me watching. A nod here, a brief wave there. No words. It was like we were both testing the air after her sharp comeback. I told myself it was curiosity, nothing more. But at night, coding in my room with the window cracked open, I'd hear the faint clink of her tools or the soft hum of a radio from her porch. It pulled at me. Sarah and I had ended because things felt stale. Predictable dates, conversations about futures that didn't excite me. Elena was the opposite, a mystery wrapped in quiet strength. At 47, she carried herself like someone who'd seen the world's edges and decided not to flinch. One evening, about a week later, the sky was heavy with incoming rain. Thunder rumbled in the distance as I sat on Mom's back steps, nursing a beer after a long day of virtual meetings. Mom was inside watching her shows. I heard the gate creak next door, Elena's side. She stepped out onto her patio, holding a glass of red wine, staring at the darkening clouds. Our yards backed up to each other, separated by that low wooden fence. She spotted me and paused. Rough day? She called over, her voice carrying easily in the still air. Code that won't compile, I replied, holding up my bottle. You? She smiled faintly, the first real one I'd seen from her. Garden's fighting back. Want to come over? I have more of this. She lifted her glass. I hesitated for half a second. Mom was oblivious inside. What harm in a neighborly drink? I vaulted the fence, literally like some awkward teenager, and joined her on the patio. Her house was immaculate from the outside, but inside, as she led me through the sliding door, it felt lived in. Warm wood floors, bookshelves stuffed with novels and gardening manuals, a record player in the corner. The air smelled of aged oak and something herbal, rosemary maybe, from her plants. She poured me a glass of Cabernet from a bottle on the counter. Sit, she said, gesturing to the plush couch. Jazz played low from the vinyl spinning on the turntable, Miles Davis, I think. We settled in, the rain starting to patter against the windows. Thanks for the other day, she said, swirling her wine. The car, haven't had a hiccup since. No problem. Spark plugs are temperamental. She nodded, taking a sip. Silence stretched, comfortable but charged. I glanced around the room, photos on the mantel. A younger Elena with a man, arm around her waist, both smiling at some beach. Her husband, I assumed. No recent pictures, no signs of anyone else. You live alone? I asked, immediately regretting how nosy it sounded. She didn't flinch. Yes, for 12 years now. She set her glass down. My husband, David. He died in a crash on I-75. Semi-truck lost control. I was 35. We had plans, kids, travel, the usual dreams. Her voice was steady, matter-of-fact, like recounting a recipe. But her eyes distant, fixed on the rain-streaked glass. I'm sorry, I said. It felt inadequate. She shrugged. It was sudden. One day he's kissing me goodbye for work, the next I'm identifying a body. She picked up her glass again. After that I shut down, threw myself into the garden, work, I edit manuscripts freelance now. Keeps the mind busy. I nodded, sipping my wine. The jazz filled the gaps. And after him? She met my eyes. There was someone. About 5 years ago, Mark. He was younger, 38, divorced, no kids. We met at a bookstore downtown. He pursued me, flowers, dinners, the works. For a while it felt like breathing again. She paused, tracing the rim of her glass. But then the whispers started. His friends joking about robbing the cradle in reverse. My book club ladies giving side eyes. His ex-wife stirring drama. One night he said he couldn't handle the judgment. Packed up and left. No fight, just silence. A text. I'm sorry. This is too much. I leaned forward. He ghosted you because of age? Not just age, the optics, the questions. What do people think? She laughed bitterly. I lost 2 men, one to death, one to cowardice. The words hung there. I set my glass down. You've lost 2 men, one to death, one to silence? She looked at me sharply, then softened. Exactly, and now? I don't talk about feelings anymore. I let people assume. Safer that way. The rain pounded harder. Thunder cracked overhead. I thought about Sarah, how we'd faded into silence too, but mutual, comfortable numbness. Elena's losses were sharper, more visceral. The thing is, I said slowly, you don't imagine. You live it raw. That's what scares people off, the realness. She studied me, head tilted. And you? Fresh from a breakup, hiding at your mom's. What are you scared of? Failing again, I admitted. Picking wrong, or right, but timing it all screwed up. She refilled our glasses without asking. Timing's a lie we tell ourselves. It's about choosing to stay when it's messy. We talked late into the night. She shared more. How David's death left her rebuilding alone, selling their dream house, planting the garden as therapy. Mark's departure reaffirmed her walls. I opened up about Sarah, the slow drift, the unspoken resentments, how I moved here to escape echoes in my old apartment. As the storm eased to a drizzle, she walked me to the door. Thanks for listening, Ben. Not many do without pity. Anytime. I stepped out, the cool air hitting my face. Her porch light flicked on as I hopped the fence. That night, lying in bed, her stories replayed. 2 losses, one irreversible, one self-inflicted. And me, drawn deeper into her orbit, wondering if I had the guts to be the third who stayed. The whispers started small, like the hum of a distant lawnmower you can ignore at first. A neighbor, Mrs. Harlan from across the street, mentioned it casually to Mom while they were both out getting the mail. Saw your boy over at Elena's the other night. Late. Everything all right? Mom laughed it off, but I caught the edge in her voice when she recounted it over breakfast the next morning. Ben, people talk. You know how this neighborhood is. Elena's, well, she's older and alone. Just be careful. I nodded, stirring my coffee longer than necessary. We just talked, Mom. She's interesting. She gave me that look, the one parents master when they see through excuses. Interesting is fine, but you're still healing from Sarah. Don't rush into something complicated. I brushed it aside, but the seed was planted. At work, it escalated. My team had a virtual happy hour on Friday, beers over Zoom, the usual venting about deadlines. Someone asked about my weekend plans. Hanging with the neighbor, I said lightly, helping with her garden. Jake, my coworker and supposed friend, muted himself for a second, then unmuted with a grin. The hot widow next door? Dude, she's like, what, 50? Hey, cradle robbing in reverse? Careful, HR might flag that as a midlife crisis. The chat exploded with emojis and laughs. I forced a chuckle. She's 47 and it's not like that. But inside it stung. Age jokes were easy, facing the truth wasn't. By Monday, texts rolled in. Jake again. Seriously, man, dating someone who could be your mom's friend? Bold. Just don't bring her to the company picnic. Another from Lisa in marketing. Heard rumors. Spill. Is she as icy as they say? I ignored most, but the noise built. Driving home, I replayed Elena's words from our wine night, the silence that ended her last relationship. Was I heading there too? The attraction was undeniable. Her sharp mind, the way she listened without judgment, how she made my scripted life feel vivid. But the gap, 18 years, loomed larger under scrutiny. I started avoiding her yard. No more fence lingering. I'd take detours on my runs, earbuds in, eyes forward. At night, though, her porch light glowed like a beacon. I'd peek from my window, seeing her silhouette reading or sipping tea. Part of me ached to cross over, knock, pick up where we left off. The other part, the one shaped by failed relationships and now external pressure, whispered retreat. Mom cornered me in the kitchen one evening. She was chopping vegetables for stew, the knife rhythmic against the board. "Ben, sit." I obeyed, sensing the talk coming. "I like Elena. She's polite, keeps her place nice, but honey, think about it. She's been through a lot. Widowed young, that other man who left. She's guarded for a reason. And you? You're just starting over. What if this is a rebound? Or worse, what if the neighborhood turns on you both?" "It's not a rebound," I said, sharper than intended. "We haven't even... It's just conversations." She set the knife down. Conversations lead places. And people here? They love a story. The young engineer and the older widow. It'll be gossip at every barbecue. I don't want you hurt again, or her. I rubbed my temples. "Mom, I'm 29. I can handle..." "Can you?" She interrupted gently. "Sarah left because you weren't ready for commitment. This? It's commitment on steroids. Age, history, expectations. Women like Elena, they need stability, not experiments." Her words echoed Jake's jokes, the neighbor's side eyes. I excused myself, claiming a work call, and holed up in my room. Staring at the ceiling, I wrestled with it all. I prided myself on maturity, handling the breakup without drama, supporting myself financially, moving forward. But this felt different. Elena wasn't a peer, she was a force. Her losses made my breakup seem petty. Yet the pull was magnetic. Days blurred. I buried myself in code, pulling late nights to avoid the fence. Elena didn't reach out, no texts, no waves. Her light stayed on, steady. It gnawed at me. Was she waiting? Or had my avoidance confirmed her fears about silence? Then, one rainy Thursday, doubt peaked. I was in the home office when an email pinged from HR, a reminder about professional conduct and avoiding perceptions of impropriety. Nothing direct, but the timing, after Jake's big mouth, felt pointed. My boss followed up in chat. "Heard you're settling in the burbs. All good?" I typed back vaguely, heart racing. That night, I snapped, paced the room, phone in hand, drafting, then deleting messages to Elena. "Hey, been busy." Lame. "We should talk." Too vague. Finally, I threw the phone down and went for a drive, windows down, radio blasting to drown the noise. Pulling back into the driveway hours later, soaked from a sudden downpour, I saw her. Elena on her porch, umbrella in one hand, watching the street. Our eyes met across the yards. She didn't wave, just held my gaze. Something in her expression, resigned, maybe challenging, broke me. I trudged inside, dripping on the mat. Mom was asleep. I changed, then stood at the window. Her light was off now. Sleep evaded me. I thought I was mature enough for this, for her. But maturity had limits. Societal stares, family concerns, my own insecurities. Elena pushed against them all. She lived unapologetically, scars and all. Me? I was still hiding behind excuses. The internal war raged, stay safe in my lane, or cross the line she'd already drawn in the sand. The knock came just after midnight, sharp against the quiet hum of the house. I was still awake, scrolling mindlessly on my laptop in bed. The screen's glow, the only light. Rain had stopped hours ago, leaving the air thick and still. I padded to the door in sweats, heart thudding for no reason I could name. Through the peephole. Elena, in a thin rain jacket, hair damp at the ends, expression unreadable. I opened the door. "Everything okay?" She didn't answer right away, just stepped inside when I moved aside, dripping slightly on the entry mat. Mom was asleep down the hall. The house felt smaller with her in it. "We need to talk," she said finally, voice low but firm. "Your place or mine?" "Mine," I whispered. "Mom's here." She nodded, shedding her jacket and hanging it on the coat rack like she'd done it before. I led her to the living room, couch still indented from where I'd been sitting. She took the armchair instead, crossing her legs, hands folded in her lap. The lamp cast soft shadows, jazzed from my phone speaker filling the awkward silence I'd started. "You've been avoiding me," she said. Not accusatory, just fact. I sat on the couch, elbows on knees. "Yeah, I have." "Why?" The question hung. I rubbed my neck. "It's complicated, the talk. At work, with Mom, the neighbors. It's all piling up." She leaned forward slightly. "And you think running fixes that?" "I'm not running." But even as I said it, it sounded weak. "I'm thinking. Protecting us both, maybe." "Us?" She raised an eyebrow. "There is no us if you're deciding alone." I sighed, meeting her eyes. They were steady, piercing without anger. "Elena, I like you, more than like. That night with the wine, hearing your stories, it hit me hard. You're real in a way nothing in my life has been lately. But the age thing, the whispers. Jake at work joking about scandals, Mom warning me off like I'm a kid. It makes me question if I'm dragging you into my mess." She was quiet for a beat, then stood and moved to the window, parting the curtains to stare at the dark street. "You think I haven't heard it before? The side eyes when I grocery shop with someone younger? The poor Elena settling for scraps pity?" She turned back. "I don't need protecting from talk. I need someone who stays when the talk starts." "I want to stay," I said, voice cracking a little. "But what if I can't handle it? What if I fold like Mark did?" She crossed the room, sitting on the coffee table directly in front of me, close enough that our knees almost touched. "Then don't come for pity. If you're not here because you love me, don't stay out of guilt or curiosity." The word love landed heavy. We danced around it, flirty jokes, deep talks, but never named. I searched her face, the faint lines from laughter long ago, the resolve in her jaw. "It's not pity or curiosity. It's you. The way you cut through bullshit. How you garden like it's therapy. The jazz, the wine, the stories that make my breakup feel small. I think about you constantly. But yeah, I'm scared. Scared of failing you like the others." She reached out, her hand on my knee, warm, grounding. "Fear's okay, it's human, but love? That's choosing anyway." I covered her hand with mine. "If I don't come for love, I won't stay for sympathy. But I am here for love. Messy, terrified love." Her eyes softened, a tear glistening but not falling. She laughed then, soft, surprised with a hint of wetness. "You say it so easily now. But tomorrow, when your mom asks or Jake texts another joke, I'll tell them to mind their business." I pulled her closer, our foreheads touching. "I'm done hiding, from you, from this." She pulled back just enough to look at me. "Prove it. Not with words, with time." We didn't kiss. Not yet. The moment was too raw, instead we talked until the wee hours. She shared more about David, their whirlwind courtship, the accident that shattered her world, how she rebuilt with books and soil under her nails. Mark's betrayal, the promises whispered in bed, evaporated by morning texts from judgmental friends. I confessed everything. Sarah's slow fade, my fear of commitment masking as independence, how Elena's directness terrified and thrilled me. "You make me want to be better," I said. "Not for show, for real." Dawn crept in, gray light filtering through the curtains. She stood to leave, but I caught her wrist. "Stay for coffee?" She smiled, genuine, tired, hopeful. "Tomorrow. Your mom's house might not be ready for this yet." As she slipped out, the door clicking shut, I felt the shift. No more avoidance. The internal storm had broken, leaving clarity. Love wasn't grand gestures, it was this. Midnight confessions, hands held in the dark, choosing vulnerability over safety. I crashed into bed as the sun rose, exhausted but lighter. The limits of my maturity? They'd stretched. For her, I'd keep pushing. Weeks turned into a quiet rhythm after that night. No announcements, no dramatic shifts, just us, navigating the new terrain one day at a time. I'd wake to texts from Elena, a photo of her morning coffee, or a rose from the garden with a simple, "thinking of you." I'd reply with code snippets that made her laugh or snapshots from my runs. Mom noticed the change, my lighter mood, the way I'd hum while making breakfast, but she didn't push. Yet. The neighborhood talk simmered but didn't boil over. Mrs. Harlan waved a bit stiffly one morning, but no confrontations. At work, Jake's jokes faded after I shut one down firmly in a team call. My personal life's off limits. He backed off and the others followed suit. It wasn't seamless, but it was manageable. Elena and I met in the evenings mostly, her place or mine when Mom was out. We'd cook simple meals, pasta with herbs from her garden, or take out on the porch under string lights she'd hung one weekend. Conversations flowed deeper. Her freelance editing gigs, my app projects, dreams we'd shelved. She talked about traveling again, Italy maybe, to see the vineyards David had promised. I shared ideas for a side business, an app for gardeners like her. One Sunday morning, the air crisp with early fall, I knocked on her door with 2 coffees in hand. She answered in yoga pants and an old sweater, hair tousled from sleep. "Walk?" I asked. She grabbed a jacket. "Lead the way." We headed to the small lake behind the subdivision, a hidden gem with a paved path, benches scattered along the water. It was early, only a few joggers and dog walkers. We strolled in comfortable silence at first, hands brushing. "You know," I said, stopping by a cluster of oaks, "that first day when you called me out on excuses, I knew then, if you could live so unfiltered, I couldn't keep pretending half a life." She leaned against a tree, sipping her coffee. "And now? No more pretending." I pulled a folded paper from my pocket, the list she'd mentioned in passing during one of our talks. I'd found a blank sheet in her kitchen drawer weeks ago, scribbled her "things I haven't done" on it as a joke. But it stuck. She unfolded it, eyes scanning. Publicly hold hands with someone I love. Take photos with someone younger than me, stand in the sun without hiding my scars. I handed her a pen. "Your turn to check one off." She smiled, genuine and wide, then took my hand. We walked openly along the path, fingers intertwined. A couple passing by glanced, curious, maybe judgmental, but we didn't let go. At a bench overlooking the water, I pulled out my phone. "Photo." She hesitated, then nodded. We snapped a selfie, her head on my shoulder, lake shimmering behind us. No filters, no poses, just us. Back home, she pinned the list to her fridge, checking the first 2 with a marker. "One more," she said. Afternoon sun poured through her windows. We stepped into the backyard, her garden in full bloom. She stood in the light, arms out, face to the sky. The scar on her forearm caught the rays, along with laugh lines, the subtle silver in her hair. "No hiding," she whispered. I joined her, wrapping arms around her waist from behind. "We don't need to be young again, just real." She turned in my embrace, eyes clear. "No apologies for loving who we love." I kissed her forehead, right there in the open, neighbors' windows be damned. It wasn't fireworks or grand vows. It was permission to ourselves. That evening, over dinner at her table, steak from the grill, wine poured freely, we didn't plan futures. No talks of moving in or rings, just presence. Her hand in mine across the cloth. The list on the fridge, 2 boxes checked, the third implied. Mom called later, inviting us both for coffee the next day. "Bring Elena," she said, voice tentative but warm. Progress. As I walked home under the stars, Elena's porch light flicked off behind me. No more beacons needed. We'd stopped pretending, and in that honesty, everything felt possible.